Well, everybody, I'm just really glad you're able to join today. This is our sixth webinar by Solis this year, and we're really happy to have you with us today. Let's get right into it. Today, our title is Solis and the Tigo TS4 platform. We have tested and harmonized our commercial inverters so that they can provide a super easy 690.12 rapid shutdown solution for you installers and buyers out there. Just as a reminder, Solis is a strong member of California Solar and Storage Association. We highly recommend you join that group, doing some great stuff. Of course, SIA as well. NABCEP, you're going to be able to get a point out of this webinar today, a CE point from NABCEP. And so we're also a Sunspec member. Today we have for you me, Terrence Parker, your host, and I'm joined by my colleague, Bernie Grant. Hey, Bernie, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Good, good. And Gary, good to have you with us today. Gary from Tigo Energy.
Yeah, hello there. Great to be here. Great to talk about some great solar solutions here today.
I'm looking forward to it, Gary. Today we're just going to, at the start of the webinar, we'll give a little corporate profile of Jinlong and Tigo. And I got a special treat for you all today. We got a little message from from Sevilla over there at Tigo. We'll play that for you. And then we'll get into our own 1,000-volt smart commercial inverters. These are the ones that we've had some excellent news from recently on the Tigo products. We'll talk about rapid shutdown. That's really what has brought us to the table today. And in part, what helped it and informed the development work over there at Tigo for their TS4 platform, which includes the new TS4-A-2F. We're going to talk about that quite a bit in detail. Bernie's going to get into the integration and installation of that product. And that, I hope, will lead to a good discussion on why you might get into a Solis Tigo commercial PV system solution for your own projects. Let me just start out with a little profile of Jinlong Technologies. Jinlong Technologies is the name of my company, which produces the Solis brand name, Solis Inverters. And we started out in 2005, and it was way back in 2009 where we first got our first UL certification for our products. First Chinese string inverter product to get that certification here in the United States back in 2009. We've had some good, we supply around the globe, and we're recently, we have become a public company, and we're traded on the Shanghai Stock Exchange. Shenzhen Stock Exchange. And that was a big moment for us. And I hope it will provide a little confidence to our buyers and people getting familiar with Solis that we are a public company with our books are examined. And I guess the big news for us is we're putting out, we're building a new factory. So that's what's occupying a lot of our time over there in China. Now, we do supply to China. We have a good market share there, but we also have big markets in India, in Australia, and throughout Europe, South America, and here in North America. We are truly a global company, and we shipped over 5 gigs in 2019, and we are increasing our capacity to over 20 gigs by 2021. It's kind of exciting news for us. I mean, we are a vertically integrated facility. We are the manufacturer, and we do our own surface mount of our own boards. We're completely vertically integrated. What that means is that we have direct relationships with our suppliers, and that allows us to really control cost and quality in our own factory. So here's a picture of the new one. We're looking, we're going to put a little PV on that roof there, I think, Bernie, is what we need to do. Now I'd like to introduce Gary Heathcote. He is a sales engineer for Tigo, been with him for a while. And Gary, can you talk a little bit about Tigo today?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been around about 13 years. We've got a lot of experience now. We're in the fourth major revision of our products. That's what the TS4 stands for. So we've learned a lot in all this time. We've shipped over 3 million units. but we are partnered with all the major manufacturers,
Hmm.
and we're all about increasing ROI. It's all about making solar pencil out and maximizing return.
Now, I have a special message today, and I'd like to play it for you today for everyone.
Tigo is a pioneer in Flex MLP for smart PV modules, focused on providing the flexible MLP solution that generates the highest return on investment. Tigo's TS4 platform can be selectively deployed with different functionalities per module at different price points, utilizing predictive IV technology to maximize energy harvest at a minimum cost. Tigo remains the only supplier of multi-vendor UL system certified rapid shutdown PV solutions for residential and commercial rooftops, with over 1.3 million rapid shutdown units shipped to customers around the world. We are very excited about the new 2F solution, which is the newest advanced rapid shutdown solution for 2 modules, further lowering the cost of RSD with standard support for 1,000 watts and 1,500 volts configuration. Today, I'm very happy to share the stage with Solis, reaching a major milestone, bringing to the US market the global reputation, reliability, cost-effective solutions, and the partnership customers will be benefiting from. Thank you.
That was a great message from Svi. He really is a pioneer in this MLPE arena. And he was talking about that 2F piece that we're going to be getting into a little bit more. Gary, can you continue with what's going on with Tigo with the TS4 platform?
Absolutely, absolutely. So we have recently come up with a new packaging for the TS4, and we call it the TS4A. A stands for add-on. And you see the units up there on the left, and they are compatible with any module as long as the voltage and current limits are observed. And on the right-hand side, you see the Tigo features. There really are 3 Tigo features. There is module level monitoring, there's rapid shutdown, and there's DC optimization. So the top 2 versions of TS4 on the right-hand side are single feature units. The TS4M does only monitoring. The TS4F does only rapid shutdown. The bottom 2 versions combine features. So the TS4S, as in safety, has module level monitoring and rapid shutdown combined. The TS4O for optimization does all 3 features. So it does module level monitoring, rapid shutdown, and optimization. So that's the entire TS4 platform. We're going to be focusing today on the TS4F and how it's used with the Genlong inverters. So we'll focus in on that today.
Thanks, Gary. I'd like to bring in Bernie. Hey, Bernie, can you maybe start to go over some of our product line here, and we'll talk a little bit about specifically what we're working on with Tigo in our 1,000-volt units. Bernie?
Sure, Terrence. Currently, our 1,000-volt units span 2 different product sizes or 2 different product families. I like to call them the small frame product family, which includes our 25 through 40 kilowatt, and the large frame product, which is the 50 through 66 kilowatt. As you can see, they're both what we call separate wire box units, multi-MPPT, and they're just designed for all your rooftop applications and small ground mount needs. When you get into a larger ground mount system where you want to have the higher voltage or 1,500 volt, we also have a 125 kilowatt inverter as well. But it's a single MPPT, and it's made specifically for like community solar size ground mounts. So one of the biggest things about having a PV system is the customers want to know how they can monitor it. In addition to the monitoring that Gary mentioned with the module level monitoring, we can also monitor the inverter through Genlong's monitoring service or any other third-party monitoring service. So outside of the Tigo relationship, we also have 3 different connectors that you can use for Modbus monitoring that is compatible with third-party monitoring devices as well as Genlong monitoring devices. The circular connector is a RS485 Modbus output along with power for powering our internal monitoring devices. And then we have the RJ45 connections for those of you who like to use Ethernet style cable for doing the monitoring. And then we have the terminal screws, which is my favorite one because you always get a good positive connection for those who want to use standard 2-pair or 3-wire Belden cable for that type of monitoring system. Some of our products I just want to go over. Sometimes you'll have like a small system which only has 2 to maybe 10 inverters, and you want something that's inexpensive for that particular system owner. So we have the Wi-Fi and LAN stick, which is basically one data logger per inverter, and it's a built-in data logger as well as a Wi-Fi transmitter that can transmit to connect to any Wi-Fi router that has internet access and upload the data. The Wi-Fi box is something that has to be mounted inside of a separate enclosure, whereas the Wi-Fi stick is outdoor rated and mounts directly to the bottom of the inverter. And the Wi-Fi box will allow you to communicate up to 10 inverters. So if you have a small system up to 10 inverters, it's a good communication method as it's cost effective. And you can use either the Wi-Fi connectivity, or it also has a LAN port where you can use an Ethernet connection to an Ethernet router as well. And that brings us to our Gen 3 monitoring platform, which is basically a Rule 21 compatible platform that has the built-in aggregator function. Again, for small systems, this is a good cost-effective solution. It doesn't give you as much of the bells and whistles as you get with other third-party solutions, but it does give you the capability to monitor sites and be able to do basic troubleshooting and data collection from each site, and gives the functionality that Rule 21 requires for controlling the inverter and the distributed assets. Our 3-phase commercial inverters have a wide model range, pretty much a model for everything that you could expect to use. It has built-in surge protection devices, a built-in string fuse holders, 4 MPPT input, which is very important for large roof systems where you may have different size strings in different areas. The MPPTs are 100% independent, meaning that you could have different power levels going to different string lengths going to each MPPT. They're fairly lightweight aluminum chassis, means they're salt water tolerant, and we do 100% factory burn-in on every inverter that comes out of the factory at high voltage, high current output, and high temperature. Our inverters are primarily designed to be convection cooled. We do have fan assistance for inverters that get installed on rooftop in areas where the inverter may be mounted in like a 15-degree or 30-degree angle in line with the PV, as well as for high temperature, high ambient temperature situations. Here's what we want to talk about here is the built-in Tigo module level rapid shutdown transmitter inside the wire box of our inverter. Everything's already connected. There's no extra work on your side. You connect the strings directly to the fuse holders. It has a very low current draw. Everything operates automatically. It is no different from what you're currently doing in the field. And that's just being able to hang the inverter, connect up your wire. The Tigo is already mounted upstairs, and then you can just do your commissioning and installation startup as normal. Operates exclusively with the TS4 F and 2F rapid shutdown receivers. So the different devices is the rapid shutdown transmitter. That's the green box you see over to the right. That's inside the inverter that actually sends out the signal to the different rapid shutdown modules to tell them that they can either operate or not operate. And then you have 2 different designs there, as Gary has mentioned before. You have the -F, which is the fire safety, and the 2F, which is basically connects 2 panels to a single device versus just a 1 panel to a single device to save you a little bit of money in OpEx installation costs there. Also, we have the Tigo has their signal detector, which if you have a receiver that is not operating properly, you can use that to trace that down and isolate that.
It really is the meat of this presentation is the ease of install. It's that installer experience, Bernie, where you get an installer who's just doing his thing and he's installed our products before and now he's got to do rapid shutdown, and it literally is the same installation. I mean, he's not adding that extra time. He's got to mount those units on every module. But other than that, his commissioning and his setup time, all of that is done for him. And so it's that speed of install, that that installer experience that we're after. And I just wanted to, I like to show this slide to most of my webinar audience. I've shown it a number of times through this year, Bernie, Gary. I like this slide a lot because I was with Tom Tanzi. We were doing a webinar together, and he mentioned that this slide maybe should be on everybody's office wall. It's the kind of thing that really, it's the stage on which we work, everybody. You are dealing with your local municipal codes, maybe how that battery is installed or whether we need rapid shutdown on that ag building. But all those local codes can go all the way up to the UL 17.1 certification test. And if you look at that next level at the state level, for example, you see California Rule 21, how that shoots all the way up to the standards way at the top. So there's that interoperability of these different standards and codes and different regulatory environment that we live under. And at the very top, of course, is the standards for communication with the grid, for example, how we're going to communicate with different aggregators out in the grid. And so this is a sort of slide that, like I say, I like to show just to kind of give us a little reference as to where we are. People are hearing all kinds of different nomenclature around new IEEE standards, that sort of thing. And I just wanted to kind of ground everybody in telling you that the 1547-2018 version ensures that all of our distributed energy resources can be used to manage grid reliability, maybe voltage support, that sort of thing. And when you see that 1547.1, that is that functionality test for advanced smart inverter functions. And this is huge, guys. This is really the first time we're seeing this certification program that can validate the information that we're going to be going back and forth from our resources, from our distributed resources out to the grid and back and forth. So we're making progress. It's really what's driving that change as we go into a more renewable energy society from a fossil fuel society. It's really, I know that codes and standards and stuff can be a little dry sometimes, but really is where all the nuts and bolts is. It's really where it's happening. And it's happening fast. You're seeing on the NEC, for example, that many of the states are switching over to at least 2017, which is going to require these new kinds of rapid shutdown solutions in every state. And you can see it's happening quite quickly. And we've even got one state that's already on the 2020 code. So, Gary, I want to bring you back in to talk a little bit more in detail about the Tigo platform and these TS4 -2F units. Gary?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, about compliance and about compatibility. So we UL list all of our products with the inverters, and that means that we test with UL and with Jinlong. The three of us get together and we do testing, and then we UL list it and we put out these letters of compliance. So it's very important to always check that your equipment has all been tested together. So let's talk about the combination. All right, so we've talked about the individual products and so on, but really, this is an all one big system. So the Solis inverter has the built-in transmitter, and it's inside the wire box, and it all comes up automatically. So install is a breeze. You just have the TS4F on each module, which, by the way, you can buy modules that are pre-integrated with TS4F. So that's really the ultimate in simplicity. If you want to choose to go that direction, then you can just install the modules like any other module, connect them to the Solis inverter, and boom, you're good to go. All right, so very simple. So, like I said, you can get the TS4 in the add-on version on the left, TS4AF, or the TS4A2F, as we saw the dual unit, or you can get it integrated. So again, if you choose to integrate, it saves that one extra step of labor of installing TS4, and it comes that way out of the box. A little bit more about the A2F. So we're very excited to bring this to market. It should start shipping sometime toward the end of this quarter. So it's 2 units in one package. And that means really it is fully 2 units in one package. So the specs on this unit are really just 2 times the single unit. So the single unit is rated up to 500 watts. The dual unit is rated for 1,000 watts on 2 channels. Same thing with the current and voltage limits. It just double it up. That's all there is to it. Very simple.
And this is a 1,500 volt unit, isn't it, Gary?
It can be. They can be ordered that way. Our standard product is 1,000 volt, but if you need 1,500 volt, all you have to do is specify that at the time of order, and we'll get you fixed up.
Excellent. You know, I'd like to bring Bernie back in here for a second to kind of talk a little bit of how just what it's like for the installer experience when he's putting in the TS4-A-F, the add-on units.
Yeah, Terrence, this is, ignore the picture because it's not required on ground mount systems. We wanted to show you just so you can get a better idea of looking at the back of the panel. And then of course, how it would be integrated with the inverter, whether the inverter is down on the side of the building or whether it's mounted to the racking on the rooftop or some other racking on the rooftop. So basically you can see the single line here is incredibly simple. The transmitter is built directly into our inverter. In between the connections for the maximum power point tracker and what I like to call the rest of the world outside to the panels. And then you get a little detail there at the bottom that shows the Tigo F being mounted to the rail and to the back of the junction box, and then it just daisy chains along through the system. So that way we have all of the panels connected together and connected to the inverter. The 2F, we go to the next slide, is very similar. But the main difference is you're just going to have this going on every other panel, come out to the panel or to the rail, and it's basically the same thing. It winds all the way back to the inverter, to the transmitter that's already built in. Literally landing it on our fuse holders is landing it at the input of the transmitter. Very simple to connect, and it doesn't take any more work than what you're currently used to doing when you're wiring up the inverter. Something I want to talk about a little bit is our separate wire box inverter and how this actually works together. As you see the bottom part of our inverter is actually detachable from the top part, or kind of vice versa if it's already installed. This allows you to install the wire box with the transmitter installed at the factory before you actually put the powertrain on top. Now, why would you want to do this? One, if you're having to carry inverters across a large building, carrying 160 pounds can get kind of difficult even with 2 people. This lessens the weight, so the wire box is only about 30 pounds or so, between 25 and 35 pounds. And then the inverter is only about 120 to 140 pounds. So you save a little bit of weight on the inverter. You're not having to carry as much weight. The second benefit is that you can install the wire box. It comes with a protective cover to maintain its NEMA 4X rating. That requires an electrician to install. Installing the powertrain does not require an electrician to install. It's literally sliding it into place and the mating connector lines up automatically. 2 screws on each side, turn on the power, and it's ready to roll. Very simple, very easy for O&M in case you have to replace an inverter due to some sort of damage. And it makes it very simple to install and reduces your overall cost instead of having to have an electrician carry a large heavy box. Commissioning is also a little bit different, but it's largely the same. The interesting thing about the TS4 transmitter is that each transmitter outputs about 0.6 volts, 0.6 of a volt when they're not currently operating, when they're not allowing any panel voltage to come through. So it makes it easy for you. So once you get all of the panels connected together and you've got your home runs inside the inverter and getting ready to land them at the wire box, you can measure the open air voltage and see, well, I've got 20 panels installed. I've got 0.6 volts per panel. So as long as I got 12 volts here, I know that all of my panels are currently connected and I'm reading everything. Then you land that on the actual fuse holders, close the fuse holders, and if you have AC power there, turn on the AC and that turns on the rapid shutdown modules. Then you can measure a second time and make sure that you see your open circuit voltage. You do not have to have the powertrain installed to be able to test to make sure that everything is working. This means you can get it done while you're installing the panels and not having to wait till the system is ready to quote unquote commission and turn on to make sure that you're seeing the voltage properly at the inverter. just in case you have one of the Tigos that is not communicating properly due to a bad connection or something like that, you also have the little sniffer that we talked about before that you can go and locate which of the Tigo products is not communicating properly or may not be receiving power from the panel. So this is very interesting, very simple to do. It doesn't require an extra step. We tried to make that step as unobtrusive as possible to make it as easy as possible on you guys to be able to determine whether or not you're getting what you're supposed to expect at the inverter and reduce your commissioning time and simplify your commissioning.
And indeed, that's what we're trying to get to here with this product. We feel like we can simplify your installs, speed it up, lower your soft costs, and not complicate your life a little bit. And what I guess we're going to close this webinar here with just a short discussion on maybe some of the reasons why you might take a look at this system. And I think faster install is really faster commissioning. These are two good reasons and solid ways to reduce soft costs and your time on site to get rapid shutdown done and to get these commercial systems in, driving revenue. And so, well, with the 2-channel piece, you really are you reducing the number of SKUs you're bringing on site, and you're increasing installation speed. So we really like this 2F version. We think it's Solis is about cost effective, about return on investment. And that's really what Savi, you heard him talk in the beginning of this presentation, how Tigo's focused on return on investment and best cost advantages for your customers. And indeed, that's what the 2F is bringing. That factory installation of that transmitter is something that Solis is doing to bring a better return on investment for your installs as well, reducing any one less box to install, just one less less half hour that you have to spend getting that box out of its packaging and putting it on the wall, that sort of thing. And then finally, all of these solutions, you can use that rapid shutdown initiation switch. You can kind of double up your AC disconnect switch for that. And again, saving you money, just label it properly. And that's the kind of thing that's saving you money and speeding up your install, reducing the number of pieces that you actually have to put on the wall. Again, as Gary and Bernie mentioned, there's no discovery involved here. There's no configuration of these units. And these TS4-Fs, these are robust, solid units that they're relatively uncomplicated. They're not, there's few parts in them. I don't know exactly how many, Gary, but I think there are probably less than 30 parts in there. And compared to, let's say, an optimizer or even some of your own products that may have over 200, these -F products are real simple and work automatically when the AC is applied. And so the guesswork can be taken out of that installation as everything, you put those receivers up there and the factory put in the transmitter, and all you, with that sniffer, with that detector, you can see if there's any issues. But generally we're talking about taking the guesswork and some of the hassle out of adding rapid shutdown to your commercial systems. Yeah, Bernie, again, I think that there's some design flexibility here that that the Tigo and Jinlong monitoring platforms can show you. And you can use either one. You can we have cellular options that we're working on, or just use solid hardwire like Bernie and I like. We're hardwire guys. We think that that's when it comes to commercial, and we're talking about revenue streams here, hardwired up so we know what's going on. Spend the extra time, in our opinion. Wouldn't you say so, Bernie? Spend that extra time to do the hardwire. That's what
I agree with that. I think the hardwire is the way to go. It saves you headaches in the long run. And I like wireless too. I use Wi-Fi at home, and I always get aggravated when my Wi-Fi doesn't reach to the other end of the house. So save yourself a little bit of frustration. If you have the opportunity to use hardwire, use hardwire. Yeah.
And know that both Tigo and Solis are behind safety, behind you getting home in the evening after your job is done and working up on that big commercial roof. It's really hot up there. The parapet walls may have been tiny, and you had to really pay attention. And so We don't want you having to, you know, try to carry around big boxes. We tried to lighten that up. We tried to reduce your install burden and the amount of SKUs that you got to haul up to the roof. These are the kinds of things both Solis and Tigo are thinking about as we consider the customer experience. And I guess the thing that both Solis and Tigo are going to wrap this up with and try to convince you that we're the way, we're a safe company to work with because we have trained North American staff ready to support you. And Solis is going to be your frontline provider of service. We've been trained by the Tigo staff on this product. And so we kind of understand not only how it's installed, how it's commissioned, how it's shipped, and how it's packaged, how it's brought up on the roof, how it's connected and where, but we also have a good understanding of its operations and how it might fail, how it generally is such a solid product. We anticipate very little, essentially to have it fall invisible into your system, and that's exactly what we want it to do. But should you have any problems, you can see that we're 80% of our calls we're fixing within 6 minutes. Do you see that? Where a wait time is only a minute, and our average, where we have actual engineers on the line, ready to support you, and we're able to take care of most of those problems within that first phone call. And so we have very few, you know, alarm codes. I think it's less than 30 today, Bernie. And so we're able to provide to you a knowledge base with little videos and explanations of each one of what to do with each one of those. And so with Tigo's help on supporting advanced communications issues and Solis, our trained support team being able to answer your questions on rapid shutdown and on whatever monitoring platform you happen to choose for this, well, we're ready to go on this today. And so we're very pleased that you're able to join us today. And now we'd like to kind of offer it up a little time where you can speak with Bernie and Gary about the solutions. And Travis, we're wondering whether or not we've gotten any questions coming into our chat line, or are people wondering
I
about
got some questions. First question, probably for Bernie. Do we still require rapid shutdown devices for solar carports?
If it's not a dwelling, according to the National Electric Code, it does not require an RSD. Now, that being said, all jurisdictions make up their own rules to a certain degree. So your local jurisdiction may say that it's required, especially if it's in close proximity to a building, for instance, like a elementary school. They may still want you to install it, but according to the National Electric Code, if it is not an occupied dwelling, it is not required.
Thanks, Bernie. And then Gary answered a question here, but I'd like him to reiterate. Timothy Cruz also asked, can we mix 2 or 3 types of Tigo optimizers in the string? If yes, what are their limitations for each type of optimizer? Example, TS4F, TS4O, etc.
Right. So TS4O and TS4S, as in safety, can be freely selectively deployed, as we call it. That means you can mix and match them however you like. If only some of the array needs optimization, then you can put the O there, and the rest of the array can have the S. Then you can have rapid shutdown across the entire array and only optimization where you need it. That is for the wireless products. The TS4F, as in fire safety, does not apply. It has to be deployed 1 per module on the entire system with no other kind of Tigo. So the TS4F is a special product because it uses power line communication. It needs to be deployed across the entire system. So that's how the selective deployment works. The only real limitation for selective deployment, now back to the TS4O and the TS4S, is that you need to selectively deploy optimization on a string, you need to have 1 string per MPPT. In other words, on parallel strings, you have to fully deploy optimization. You have to have optimizers on all strings if they're in parallel. But if they're 1 string per MPPT, you can mix and match however you like the O and the S.
Yeah, that's an interesting strategy that I'm sure some of our installers are going to really try to parse out and try to really optimize that array using the variety of products that we can get from Tigo. We have talked about a super simple rapid shutdown solution here, but there are other things that Tigo can supply here. And with our 4 MPPTs on each one of these commercial inverters, you may be able to load up most of your system on 3 of them and then reserve that 4th one for maybe a troublesome string that you want to apply some selective optimization on.
Right. The more MPPTs you have, the more likely it is you'll be able to just have one string per MPPT and selectively deploy all you like.
Yeah, it gives that
Another question here, Terry.
Yeah.
Do you have, this is from Tony Hancock, do you have a cell mod kit for those houses that do not have Wi-Fi?
We do. We're developing our own cellular solution, and again, it will be very similar to the Wi-Fi solution, a plug-and-play, touch-safe sort of install, very quick, self-configuring. And the solution that we're working on today has a multi-vendor chip on it, so that it will pick up whether it's CDMA, Verizon, for example, or GSM like an AT&T or T-Mobile or something like that. It will look for the strongest signal and use that. Self-configuring, within a couple, 3 minutes, it's already broadcasting. So it's another way for us to provide that speed of install, that installer experience where, the rock solid, no configuration, and ease of install. That's really where we're trying to go with this.
Excellent. That's all the questions that have come in from our
chat lines. Yeah, that we as a team, Solis and Tigo, we really feel like we can supply you with all of these. We're through our own distributors are distributing both Solis and Tigo products, and so it's sort of a one-stop shop for you guys. And as Bernie noted, each of our inverters comes with as a 2-piece unit, you don't. And one thing that Bernie didn't mention is that should you have a wire box or a unit on top that somehow needs to be swapped out, there's no linkage between the top unit and the bottom unit. That is, if the top unit's working fine and you need to swap out the bottom unit, for example, you need to swap out the PLC signal board itself, the Tigo board, you would swap out that wire box. But that wire box is not necessarily associated with a head, so you can just bring another wire box to it, and that other PLC signal generator will work with that same set of TS4- A-F units. And so that compatibility, that future, proofing of the system, where you can swap out the head or the wire box or the units themselves, and they all still work together. I think that provides a little bit of flexibility to your installers and a little comfort, I hope, to the folks that are stocking that warehouse for us. Would you agree, Bernie?
Yeah, I think that's a good point to bring out, Terrence, is that they're not a married pair, so you have the capability of mixing and matching. Even when they ship, for ease of installation, you could have your site have received just the wire boxes first to go out and install the wire boxes and leave the head units, the powertrains, in the warehouse until they're required. There's no sense in taking them all out and leaving them out in the open when you can just install what you need at the time that you need. And this type of staged installation process, like I said, actually save quite a bit of money. It makes it a little bit simpler and easier to manage your inventory and manage what's on site. You see many places now have to have security on site to make sure that some of their equipment doesn't grow legs and walk off. And this helps to manage that by keeping that in a secure location until it's time to be utilized on site.
Yeah, what I like particularly about this is it's simple. And I really believe in the keep it simple rule. And this really does. It's very simple to install. The operation is simple, and I think trouble-free. So I think it's a great combination.
And that's true too. I want to mention one more thing, Terrence, that we kind of went over a little bit, is that, but we didn't go into a little detail, is our service department is already trained by Tigo to be able to answer simple questions on the Tigo product. So you don't have to worry about trying to chase down someone to get answers. You can call into the Solis service line if you have an issue when you're commissioning on site, and they'll be able to say whether it's a problem with the Tigo unit or if it's a problem with the Solis unit. They're able to make that distinction and help you out with a couple of minor things. If it gets more in depth where you're required to have more in-depth troubleshooting, then you would call Gary and Tigo to say, hey, my Tigo unit's not functioning properly. Jinlong sent me to you. This is what we've tried so far. So that way we have a seamless and again, easy and simplified system for support and maintenance, because we know that's also very important to our customers, is to make sure they have some continuous support and not pushing things off from one to the other.
It's true. I mean, the installer isn't just, you know, using a hammer and nail. I mean, he's got to bring that equipment on site. He's got to store it there. You know, he's got to lift that equipment, and then he's got to install. And then afterwards, he's got to, in many cases, a responsibility to maintain a warranty on those systems, and he's got to maintain them. And so, you know, he's got 3 stages. He's got the setup and the install, and then he's got the OpEx. And so Solis and Tigo have thought about that whole thing. Tigo, you know, reducing SKUs, and Solis integrating pieces so there's less equipment on site. Install, fast commissioning, and then OpEx, being able to get a warm body online to answer your questions. That whole experience is what we're trying to bring together. And Tigo Energy and Solis has really, I think, come up with a system here where we're demonstrating that for you, and hope to continue that throughout all of our product lines together. Well, we finished up here in 45 minutes, everybody, and that's a fast one. That we got it done quickly because I think that we, as Gary said, it was a simple solution with that fixes a more complicated issue, and we hope that you enjoyed the information today. Gary, got any last words there?
No, it was really great to join you. I appreciate the privilege of presenting with Solis, and you, Terrence and Bernie, and thank you so much. And please keep us in mind, and we're of course here to help also if you need it, both for Solis and for your customers.
Thanks, Gary. Bernie?
I just want to again reiterate the amount of work that we put in this to make it simple and easy for the installers, because unfortunately the code likes to make things more and more complicated, as I'm sure we're all aware of. Anybody who's been in the business for any length of time can see how silly things get when people start changing the code. And it's up to us to try to make sure that you guys are taken care of in the field, and that you're able to keep up with not only the current code, but also your installation processes, so that it doesn't start costing you more than just the increased cost of equipment. And that's the focus here at Jinlong, is to make it simple, make it easy, and to make it so that you guys have something that you can install quickly and effectively.
Thanks, Bernie. Thanks for joining me today, Bernie, on the webinar. And Gary, really appreciate not only getting Savi to record us a little note before. That was really great. And to have you on the webinar today to really explain this stuff to us, make sure that all our webinar audience has the answers. Thanks again, Gary, and looking forward to our next webinar together.
Literally my pleasure.
Have a good one, everybody. Really appreciate it. I hope you had a good weekend, and get out there this week and push that solar power. Have a good afternoon, everyone.
Yep.
Bye, everyone.
Yeah, thanks, Gary. Bye-bye.